In the late 15th century, European sailors began venturing further from their familiar coasts. They were driven by curiosity, the search for new trade routes, and the desire to spread Christianity. In 1498, Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, rounded the southern tip of Africa, a feat previously considered impossible by Europeans. He landed in East Africa, marking the beginning of a new era for the region. This arrival of the Portuguese was a significant event. It brought East Africa into direct contact with Europe, forever altering the course of its history. The Portuguese, with their advanced naval technology and ambitions of wealth and power, were determined to establish themselves in this new and exotic part of the world. Their arrival would have profound and lasting consequences, shaping the destiny of East Africa for centuries to come. The impact of their presence would be complex, a mixture of both positive and negative changes to the existing social, political, and economic landscapes. The Portuguese had clear motivations for their daring voyages. They were driven by what is often called gold, glory, and gospel. They sought wealth, aiming to control the lucrative spice trade with Asia. Pepper, cloves, and nutmeg were highly prized in Europe and could bring immense riches to those who controlled their trade. Beyond material wealth, the Portuguese were also driven by a desire for glory and recognition. Successfully navigating to the east and establishing trading posts would cement their nation's status as a maritime power. Lastly, spreading Christianity was a key part of their mission. They aimed to convert local populations, believing it was their duty to bring the Christian faith to new lands. This combination of economic, political, and religious motivations fueled their ambition and shaped their interactions with the people and societies they encountered in East Africa. The Portuguese wasted no time in asserting their dominance in the Indian Ocean. They used their superior naval power, including powerful cannons and well-armed ships, to establish control over key ports along the East African coast. Cities like Mombasa, Sofala, and Kilwa, once thriving centers of trade, found themselves under Portuguese influence. This dominance allowed the Portuguese to control trade routes and impose taxes on goods passing through their ports. They disrupted existing trade networks that had connected East Africa to the Middle East and Asia for centuries. The Portuguese sought to monopolize the spice trade, diverting the flow of goods to Europe through their own channels. While they aimed to control trade, the Portuguese also engaged in interactions with local rulers and communities. These interactions were complex and varied, ranging from alliances and cooperation to conflict and resistance. Some African rulers saw advantages in cooperating with the Portuguese, gaining access to new weapons or using Portuguese support to strengthen their position against rivals. The arrival of the Portuguese marked a turning point in the history of East Africa. Their presence brought about significant changes, introducing new ideas, technologies, and cultural influences. One of the most enduring legacies was the introduction of new crops from the Americas, such as maize and cassava. These crops, previously unknown in Africa, would become dietary staples in many regions. The Portuguese also left their mark on architecture and language. Fortifications they built, like Fort Jesus in Mombasa, still stand as reminders of their presence. Swahili, the lingua franca of the East African coast, absorbed Portuguese loanwords, reflecting the cultural exchange that took place. However, the Portuguese presence also had its darker side. Their pursuit of wealth and power often came at the expense of local populations. The slave trade, already present in East Africa, intensified under Portuguese rule. Africans were enslaved and transported to work on plantations in the Americas, fueling the transatlantic slave trade.